Hallelujah! We are going to learn HTML5. Woohoo! Okay, so far we haven't paid too much attention to HTML versions, but we're using HTML5, and the reason we're using HTML5 is because it has been the standard for some time. It is supported by all major browsers, but we have been neglecting a few essential things that I didn't want to introduce until now. Okay, well first of all, let's talk about HTML versions. All right, so HTML3 and 4, I actually learned HTML3, and there are still websites that are coded in HTML3 and 4, which you should think about as a money-making opportunity for you, especially if you are pursuing freelance work, because all of those pages need to be updated to HTML5. Guess why? Because Google and the other search engines, but mainly Google, has pronounced a judgment on those who are still coding in HTML3 and 4, and they have lower natural SEO or search engine optimization. So Google wants to see everybody move to HTML5 because HTML5 is what is called semantic. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Basically, it tells the browser what kind of content each section, article, or tag contains. So it's not generic, it is specific, and that helps a search engine read and crawl your web page and helps find out what it's about, basically. Okay, so after we got that, web developers moved to XHTML. So XHTML is very strict. Basically, if you didn't get all your tags in a row and have all your closing tags in place, nothing would work. And actually, coding very strictly is something that I highly recommend, but HTML5 will allow you to get away with a little bit more. Okay, so for example, if you're using XHTML, you can't get away with not closing a tag that needs a closing tag. If you omit quotation marks, you're up a creek, etc., etc. Okay, so we're going to code strictly, but we're going to use HTML5, which allows us to perhaps make a few little mistakes and we're going to be okay. Okay, so we have been working with HTML5 this entire time. So HTML5, doc type HTML, tells us that it is an HTML5 document, which you already know, so I'm not going to pursue that one any further. But here's what's really important about HTML5. It is semantic. Semantic means it tells the browser what kind of content to expect. All right, so there are, what we have been using so far are non-semantic elements like H1, H2, table, unordered list, list item, etc. But now we're going to start using semantic elements. Now, actually we haven't used forms yet. Article, section, main clearly defines what the search engine should expect. They know, the browser, the search engines know what to look for, and there's also a level of hierarchy. Okay, so what do I mean by that? All right, so these are the basic tags that define an HTML5 document, and they are read in order of importance by the search engine. So, for example, first your search engine is going to take a look at the URL of your website. So if your website is all about parakeets.com, it's going to look at that first. After that, it's going to look at the title of your page, which is contained in your head area. And then it starts to work its way down through the website. So header and head are different. Okay, a head, remember, is everything that is invisible in the web page. For example, links to style sheets, character sets, meta tags or descriptions, and of course the title of your web page, which is in the top browser window. Header, by contrast, defines something that is of major importance in the document, and a lot of times that will be the title of the page, a logo, a graphic, anything that is content of the page that should be read first. So you might have a little graphical logo and allaboutparakeets.com. All right, the nav element is, as you might expect, navigation. So nav refers to anything that are links to your website. Okay, so if you have a 5-page website, home, content, about, photographs, and contact, you would place all of the links in the nav, in between 2 nav tags. All right, now there's one that's not displayed here. It's called main. Main is literally the main content of your web page. So main tells the browser, tells the search engines and the browser, hey, this is the main content. It's really that simple of my web page. And secondary to that, there are sections. So think about a newspaper. A newspaper has sections, like the sports section. Within those sections, there are articles. So if in my example, allaboutparakeets.com, a section might be caring for your new parakeet. And then I might have articles that are all about what to feed the parakeet, what to do if the parakeet gets sick, etc., etc. Okay, so section encloses an area of the web page that's similar in, like say, that is similar in content. And within that, you might have different articles. So instead of just using the P tag, which is what we've been doing so far to separate our content, we're going to use main, section, and article. Additionally, we have aside. Now, aside is literally content that is like a pull quote, a caption, a picture, content that adds to the main section or article type content, but it is literally something that's tangential. So, and many times an aside is floated to the side. So we're actually going to be doing that. And finally, we have the footer tag, which not only tells the search engines, hey, we are stopping this web page here. This footer content might be, say, a sitemap, or it might be copyright. It might be any type of content that we, even something like back to top. So anything that's at the bottom of the website. So here's how it looks. Okay, so I go into detail on all of the elements here, but we're not going to worry about that, except that I want to look how I've highlighted this in red. Just remember, please, that header is different than head. Header is visible on your website, navigation links, logo. Head, think links to invisible content. Header is visible, head is not. Okay. Here's a little list for you of all of the semantic elements in HTML5. It handles everything from captions, details, footer, main, marked or highlighted text, and summary, etc. Okay, so we're not going to worry about that too much. What we are going to worry about is fixing our website to conform to the HTML5 standard. All right, so let's go back to brackets. And let's go to our, let's go and make this HTML5 friendly. And I'm going to go ahead and open one up because I already have one pre-made. And actually that is on my desktop. All right, my one-page site. And here's my index skeleton. Introduction to typography. Yeah, here's what I want. Okay, so let's open this. Okay, so here is the web page that we have been creating so far. All right, so we're going to save this. I'm going to go ahead and save it as finished.html. All right. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and preview this, and let's see what we have. Okay, so right now we have H1 for our 2 H1 tags, and this is actually our header content. Dr. Lisa Sharp's Introduction to Typography. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enclose that in a header tag. So the browser knows, hey, This is header content here. So now I'm enclosing the existing content just for the search engine to know what I'm talking about. And look, I have a blank tag there. No. I have my horizontal rule, and that's also a part of my header, so I'm going to move that within my header. Okay, now I have called out the importance of typography as just an H3 and all of this as a paragraph. So I am actually going to, instead, I'm going to look at this, and this is, we have to decide whether this is main content, whether it's an article, or whether it's a section. All right, so I'm going to ask you, I know what I want to do with it, but we have some natural breaks here in the content. We have all of this text. We have the graphics showing the differences. We have families of type, and we have classic typefaces. I think that this is main content. This whole thing is main content. All right, so I'm going to add the tag main to that. All right, now where shall I put the closing tag? Where does the main content end? I think it ends after this horizontal rule right here. So I'm going to put it there. All right, now there's nothing changing here. It's simply we are using those HTML5 tags to tell the search engine what to look for. Okay, so what about this? So the graphics showing the essential differences, some families of type, I see those as articles. Now, articles, let's think about this. Should articles be nested within the main tag? Or should they be given their own section? You could make an argument for either, but I am going to use a section tag just for the purposes of illustrating this. And my section is going to enclose all of this other content. Classic typefaces, it's going to enclose my table. And it's going to go all the way down to before that horizontal rule. So that's my section. Within that section, there are going to be articles. All right, so I think the graphics showing the essential differences should be an article. Families of type, applications of typography, and classic typefaces should be another article. And again, you could make an argument for including all of this in the main tag. You could make an argument for coding it a lot of different ways. I'm just coding it in a way that seems logical to me. All right, so we have our section, which goes all the way down to the end of that table and stops before the horizontal rule. And within that, I'm going to make families of type, applications of typography, classic typefaces, and article. Okay, now I could break this up into several articles if I wanted, but I don't necessarily want to overcomplicate things. So I could make each one an article. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to, there's not that much content that really needs to be called out. So we have an article, and ooh, I have an error here. So after this, let's see. After this, that's going to be one article. I am going to have a second article. Actually, I did say that families of type and applications of typography, that was all going to be one article. So I'm going to close that out here. Right before the horizontal rule. I'm going to close out that article. Now I'm going to do another article for the table. Okay, take the closing tag. Notice none of this content is changing. All I'm doing is marking it up so that the browser can understand it. Later on, we will be using sections and articles because we're going to have more content to work with, we're going to be using sections, articles, and main in a more structural way. But for right now, I'm just marking this up so that the browser understands the levels of importance. So after the table, I'm going to close out that article. Okay, there, and I closed out the section. Okay, now, and then I have a horizontal rule. So this is definitely footer content, don't you think? So footer, and I'm going to close out the footer after the horizontal, after the link actually. Okay, nothing changed. So all we're doing here is taking this specific web page and we're marking it up so that a search engine can understand it and crawl it better. All right, so with that, I would like you to mark up your one-page website, finish it up, make sure it has a graphic, a table, an unordered list, an ordered list, and some copyrighted information and a link, and then you are done with this assignment. Yay!